All right. What's up, everybody? This is your boy Jay coming at you live Friday evening, heading into the weekend strong with hopefully the culmination of chapter 9 of Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Behrend. So I'll pick right up where I left off yesterday. And I'll finish reading the chapter and share with you my insights. So here we go. This first concrete fruition of my study of mental science, as expounded by Trohr's book, had come by a careful following of the methods he had outlined. In this connection, therefore, I can offer to the reader no better gift than to quote Trohr's book, The Edinburgh Lectures, from which may be derived a complete idea of the line of action I was endeavoring to follow. In the chapter on causes and conditions, he says, to get good results, we must properly understand our relation to the great impersonal power we are using. It is intelligent and we are intelligent, and the two intelligences must cooperate. We must not fly in the face of the law, expecting it to do for us what it can only do through us. And we must therefore use our intelligence with the knowledge that it is acting as the instrument of a greater intelligence. And because we have this knowledge, we may and should cease from all anxiety as to the final result. In actual practice, we must first form the ideal conception of our object with the definite intention of impressing it upon the universal mind. It is this thought that takes such thought out of the region of mere casual fancies, and then affirm that our knowledge of the law is sufficient reason for a calm expectation of a corresponding result, and that therefore all necessary conditions will come to us in due order. We can then turn to the affairs of our daily life with the calm assurance that the initial conditions are either there already or will soon come into view. If we do not at once see them, let us rest content with the knowledge that the spiritual prototype is already in existence and wait till some circumstance pointing in the desired direction begins to show itself. What's up, Kath? Good to have you. There you go, the shout out. It may be a very small circumstance, but it is the direction and not the magnitude that is to be taken into consideration. As soon as we see it, we should regard it as the first sprouting of the seed sown in the absolute, and do calmly and without excitement, whatever the circumstances seem to require. And then later on, we shall see that this doing will in turn lead to a further circumstance in the same direction until we find ourselves conducted step by step to the accomplishment of our object. Right? In this way, the understanding of the great principle of the law of supply will, by repeated experiences, deliver us more and more completely out of the region of anxious thought and toilsome labor, and bring us into a new world where the useful employment of all our powers, whether mental or physical, will only be an unfolding of our individuality upon the lines of its own nature, and therefore a perpetual source of health and happiness, a sufficient inducement, surely, to the careful study of the laws governing the relation between the individual and the universal mind. End quote. To my mind, then as now, this quotation outlines the core and center of the method and manner of approach necessary for coming in touch with infinite supply. I list it together with the previously quoted statement, my mind is a center of divine operation, etc., constituted the only apparent means of attracting to myself the $20,000. My constant endeavor to get into the spirit of these statements, and check out how she says get into the spirit of these statements, okay, and to attract to myself this needed sum was about 6 weeks, at the end of which time I had in my bank the required $20,000. This could be made into a long story giving all the details, but the facts, as already narrated, will give you a definite idea of the magnetic condition of my mind. while the $20,000 was finding its way to me. Absolutely beautiful chapter. And so let's go paragraph per paragraph and allow me to share some insights. Okay. So she says that she carefully started to apply and follow the methods outlined by her mentor in the book The Edinburgh Lectures by Thomas Troward on the chapter Causes and Conditions, and then she goes into this full share of a few paragraphs from that book. Okay, and what Thomas Troward wants us to understand is that we have to understand the impersonal relationship, that we have to this great impersonal power, which is intelligent, and we are intelligent because we are part of it. We are one. And these two intelligences have to be aligned and cooperate. Okay. And it's not about just because there is a law of attraction and there's a law of supply and there is a law of abundance and there's a law of prosperity. It's not that you are expecting all those laws to just do things for you, when the laws are to be applied and made to work through you, right? So you have to play your part in this cooperation in creation. It's a co-creation, it's a cooperation, all right? And to that end, you are to use your intelligence to intelligently understand and to intelligently be able to apply this knowledge, right? Because it is the actual application of the knowledge that takes you to your desired fancies. And she says over here that once you start thinking about your ideas with the definite intention of impressing them on the universal mind or your subconscious mind, whatever term you want to use for it, that's when your thoughts flip from just being fantasies or fancies or daydreams, and they flip into being actual affirmations, right? And once you can actually assure to yourself that this idea has been planted in the subconscious mind, you can rest assured that the results will come. And they may not come in the magnitude that you expect them. They may not come at the time that you expect them. However, you can rest assured that once you really, really, really got it to yourself, that you definitely made the impression on the subconscious mind. And you will know that you made the impression by what I shared yesterday on the live, right? Once you know that you made that impression, know that signs will come to you. Know that the manifestation is guaranteed. However, once again, it's not about the high end mohawk. It's not about the magnitude of the manifestation. It is about the little sproutings that you see of the seed that you planted. And sometimes they may look very small, but it is your part here. And here is where cooperation and co-creation come into play. Is when you start to see those first little sproutings, you follow them, and as you follow this first initial signs, as small as they may seem, it will lead you to the next step, to the next step, and to the next step, and to the next step, until you will find yourself very calmly and without excitement, right? Without excitement. I told you guys why not being excited is actually a good thing, right? Not that you shouldn't have excitement in your heart, but like it's not that type of excitement. Like, of course, when you're celebrating, you have to have excitement. It's a great emotion to have. Yet when you are when you know it that it is absolutely yours, you're not excited about getting it because you have it, right? Anyways, so he says without excitement, you're gonna find yourself step by step guided onto the accomplishment of your object. And understanding this is when you know that you have connected and you are applying the principle of the law of supply. And the more you experience this type of experiences, you will know that every experience that you have that takes you closer to the manifestation or the attraction of your mental picture, mentally and physically to you, is going to be a confirmation to you that your individuality, that your individual expression and expansion is is the natural unfoldment of nature itself, expressing itself through you, through your individuality. Wow. And she says here, um, that this quotation and the quotation "my mind is the center of divine operation" are um, what really gather in touch with infinite intelligence, with infinite supply. And as you get more and more in tune with these statements, with these ideas, and you enter into the spirit of what I just shared with you guys, you're gonna make a connection because it's gonna be an intellectual understanding. Your mind is going to start to circulate this idea enough to make sense of it. And once you make sense of it, you start believing it by repeating it because it makes a whole lot of sense for you. That's when your paradigm shifts. Your current paradigm determines your current logic, and what seems illogical to you right now will start to make logical sense. Think about this. Before, they used to think that the earth was flat, and some people still think it's flat. I don't know. I'm not here to argue whether it's flat or not. The thing is, it was illogical for people to think that the earth was round. Actually, it was illogical for people to think that we were revolving around the sun because it was thought that everything was revolving around earth. And the current logic, the current paradigm was holding on to that logic until people showed the other side, and they were able to break people out of their paradigm into a new logic. Just as those logics were obsolete, it became obsolete, and we as a whole started to accept new logics for your individuality, for your own purpose. You have a current paradigm that's keeping you stuck in a certain logic. As you accept these principles and these laws into your life, your logic, your current logic, will become obsolete, and you're going to live in a new logic that is a completely new model. Once you start living from that model, from that new logic, your life will take on magnitudes and experiences that you never would have thought that were going to be possible in your lifetime. And that's what she's saying. I did a rough calculation, guys, and for a single lady in the early 1900s to come up with $20,000, it was like, at this current time, I think it's about $500,000 to $600,000. And she came out with that amount, and she says right here, my constant endeavor to get into the spirit of these statements and to attract to myself this needed sum was about 6 weeks. She literally attracted like 100 grand a week, if you want to break it down, right? But like, I mean, it's not like she was attracting 100K a week, but it took her 6 weeks to attract 500 to 600K by today's standards, right? Um, So I want you to think about that. What type of logic do you think that she was actually operating from? Was she even operating from logic? And if you listen to the whole, if you listen to the whole chapter, or if you get the book and you read the whole chapter, which is chapter 9, you will see how little logic there was to the whole thing. There was little logic, but there was a lot of principles being applied, and those principles are the same back in the 1900s. They'll be the same today. They'll be the same whenever, because principles do not change. I think it was actually Jim Rohn who said things like that, that everything changes but principles do not change, or something like that. I forgot the exact quotation, but that statement, when I first heard it, I was like, whoa, like, you're right, principles are actually beyond anything else. And I was like, wow, but how do you know, or what are actually principles and what are not principles, and things like that. And here I am reading books like Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Biran and getting more in touch with the wisdom that I have been seeking. Now, guys, to cap off this chapter and to leave you guys with 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 something practical to use throughout the weekend, I challenge you to make a beautiful description of what your dream life looks like for you. And it may be a dream life that you think will take you 20 years to live, a year to live, it doesn't matter. Make a beautiful description of it and completely relax. Allow yourself to just make a beautiful description with no limits. Remove all limits. And from that relaxed state, write that beautiful description in full detail, as detailed as you can make it to be. And as you relax this weekend, as you take time to feel great with loved ones, and you're feeling great and you're feeling abundant, reread that story to yourself. However, I want you to write that story in the present tense as if you're living that life today, right now, right this instant, not 20 years later, not 5 years later, right now, today, right this moment. And keep thinking about the story, keep reading it morning and night. Hey, what's going on, Roman? Good to have you, brother. Morning and night. Whenever you have free time, just keep thinking about that beautiful picture. Imagine that you're in that you're living that picture right now at this moment, and keep doing it. And feel free to share with me how amazing you felt all weekend, and how much more energy, how much more possibility you see, how much more powerful you see for yourself, how much more, um, just overall, how much more great and how much more powerful you feel about being able to live the life that you dream, instead of keep pushing the life that you dream to some future time, because the only time that we have is now. um, many years ago, I heard something on the radio. I don't listen to the radio anymore, but about 10 years ago, I was commuting back and forth to work, and there's a very popular channel here, which is Z100, and they used to have a morning show, and there was a very wise man on the show. His name was, I think they used to call him Mr. Bell, and he said something like this. I don't know why he said this, but he said, um, exactly, Roman. And he said, and check this out. He said, yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is not here yet. All we have is now. That's why they call it present, because it is a present. It is a gift. And yes, it is all that we have. We are not guaranteed the next moment in our lives. Whatever happened already happened. It's spilled water. You can't put it back. Um, so take the lesson and move forward, and relate to all those past experiences, whether you label them good or bad. Learn to take the lesson and relate to them in a positive way, in a powerful way. Take the lesson and move forward with freedom, with power, and create the life that you want right now. Not tomorrow, today. All right, guys. So much love. Thank you all very much for investing precious time of your day with me. Have a blessed weekend, and I'll see you with more insights on Monday. Peace out, everybody. This was your boy Jay. Later.